I'm Jack Hawkins, the Yakima County Coroner, and obviously I'm running for the coroner's position. I bring to the table 9 years experience as the coroner, 2 years as the chief deputy coroner, which was essential in this step going into the coroner's position. I spent 2 years. I earned my medical legal investigative death investigation certification while as a chief deputy coroner. And that medical legal is a term that is the study of deceased people, their wounds, what may cause those wounds, gunshot wounds, knife wounds, could be fire, could be ligatures, could be rigor mortis, lividity, different things, liver temperature, how we determine the time of death. That's what that investigation details. I also, prior to that, have 25 years law enforcement experience, and in law enforcement experience, I was with the Sheriff's Office, with the Yakima Police Department. I attended hundreds of hours of investigative schools, supervisory schools, attended Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois for traffic accident reconstruction, study of motor vehicle collisions with motor vehicles, pedestrians, motorcycles, trucks, anything to do with motor vehicle. Also supervisory training, also crime scene investigation, homicide scenes investigation with that, and also for the Washington State Criminal Justice Commission. I trained hundreds of years with them throughout my service with the police department and the sheriff's department. The coroner's office is twofold. You have the medical, which is a forensic pathologist to perform the autopsies. And we're fortunate to have, I am anyway, as a coroner, to have a forensic pathologist who endorses me, but also is a very good top of the line forensic pathologist right here in town. So 99% of our autopsies, he's here to do them for us. And he's also available to me to answer any medical questions I may have, and believe it or not, a doctor that doesn't charge you for every phone call. And so that, with that, and then I have I've learned the importance of evidence at the scene, being able to gather that evidence and being able to, the chain of evidence presented in court. I have been certified and recognized as an expert in death investigation, the Superior Court. 11 years as a coroner. I have established excellent working conditions with all law enforcement officers and departments up and down the valley. Whether it's State Patrol, Yakima Police Department, Sheriff's Department, all the smaller departments up and down the valley. Yakima Nation, FBI. I worked with a lot of evidence technicians. I've worked with obviously forensic pathologists, funeral homes, and organ donation people, and procuring and getting donations for organs when it's possible. I'm responsible for establishing and designing of the new morgue. Before, we were housed in a kitchen of an old restaurant with absolutely no bloodborne pathogens or airborne pathogen protection. We now have the state-of-the-art equipment, and we've been able to protect everybody that's in that morgue. Also instrumental in computerizing our record system, which before we had thousands and thousands of records that are just in folders. Now they're all computerized. We get to them with the computer. And also the getting unclaimed cremated remains back to their family. They haven't been claimed. We have on my website names and stuff, and working diligently to get those remains back to their loved ones where they belong. In my tenure, I have investigated 300 or 400 homicides, motor vehicle collisions, accidental deaths, suicides, and also, drug and alcohol-related deaths. That's me. Thank you.
My name is Jim Chris. I am also running for coroner against Mr. Hawkins here. I brought my wife tonight. She's over there. Together we've raised 5 boys in the valley. All of them, they're moved on. I think we have one left in the house. Our youngest is actually a YPD officer. Just got his FTO time about 3 or 4 months ago. He's out on his own. My father was also in law enforcement. He did that for quite a while, and then went on to be a chief of police of a town in Davenport, Washington. I myself, I chose to be work in pre-hospital medicine. I have 28 years in Yakima County working as in pre-hospital, 16 years as a paramedic, 11 years of those as a paramedic supervisor. Oftentimes we're called to scenes, horrific scenes where we have to give family the most horrific news, terrible news. And having suffered a loss myself in my younger years, I feel like I delivered terrible news with great compassion and as a paramedic, I feel that I'll be a valuable resource for law enforcement as they do their investigation, as I do my investigation. I feel I am very knowledgeable of pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, medical legal, and anatomy and physiology. So, also, you know, with the recent increase of first responder suicides, I also attended a critical incident stress management class, participated and attended many of the briefings, and usually it's an individual having a normal reaction to a very abnormal situation. As your Yakima County Coroner, I will strive to bring answers deserved to loved ones and family members as soon as possible in quick fashion, and I will be an advocate for the deceased. So I just want to thank you guys for being here on this wonderful hot day.
Since the coroner is a death investigator, what experience do you have in death investigation? Mr. Hawkins, we'll start with you. Let's try to keep these two over 2 minutes so we can get through lots of questions.
Okay. Again, yeah, the coroner's responsibility is to run an independent death investigation for deaths in Yakima County. And as I stated before, I started back in 1973 with the Sheriff's Department investigating all kinds of crime scenes, homicides, and just accidents, suicides, drug overdoses, the same I did with the police department. So I have 25 years experience. But also, as I stated, I have numerous classes and training, hundreds of hours in service training through the Washington State Criminal Justice Commission, training through Evanston, Illinois, through the Northwestern University. I've also trained through Florida State University for accident investigation, cause analysis. And I think that's essential to be able to do that and work with the forensic pathologists and also the medical legal investigation. That's medical, that's MEDICO legal. And again, that I emphasize that because that is the investigation of a deceased person. Not a live person, but a deceased person. He has been shot, he's been drowned, he's been hung, whatever, electrocuted. We've studied all of those different injuries so we can tell. The gunshot wound, is it contact or is it from a distance? Is it an entrance wound or an exit wound? Is there stippling? These are things that I can look at and I can tell you because of my training and my experience as an investigator. And I have investigated thousands of cases, over 6,500 cases in the last 9 years. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So, as a paramedic, we see dead people once in a while. We go on lots of calls where somebody has been shot, stabbed, but there also people die for many medical reasons as well. So you'll get on scene, we have to do a quick investigation to figure out what's going on. There's protocols that we follow to start resuscitation. Oftentimes, the patient will have evidence of morbidity. So in those patients, we always won't try to resuscitate. But we still do an investigation on scene, look and see and try to put pieces together and see what actually possibly could have caused the death. There's many times when I've in the process of putting my ambulance, putting things back together, I had law enforcement come to me and ask me, what was your perception here? What do you think caused this? The ones where the traumatic injuries, they're pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, the gunshot to the chest. But the medical stuff, there's lots of things where when people die, there's different presentations that can be like a pulmonary embolism, that can cause a different presentation. Also, you investigate like their medical history, the medicines that they've taken. Are they still taking their medicines? Are they getting certain tests that they need? What do they do for the first 12 hours prior to this? All these are questions that you ask to get the information. So, no, I haven't investigated a death scene for an individual, for a law enforcement, for like to go to court or anything like that. But I have been on many deaths and done my own done investigations to see the cause of death, what we need to do to intervene, and I've answered many questions from law enforcement, what their perception of what could have caused the death. So, thank you.
What qualifies you to be an expert witness in court?
So, as a paramedic, we are trained for that very scenario. You're dealing with people's lives, you're dealing with people's, their quality of lives. So, paramedics are often called into court to testify. Their training is, and experience levels are been on lots of accident scenes. We're trained on how the patient is treated on accident scenes, how the patients actually get from vehicles, in medical calls, what interventions were done, what medications were given. There's quite a big scope of practice that the paramedic has and is responsible for. And so, again, many times they're called in to testify on, what they saw on the scene, what they did for the patient. So yeah, it's a professional profession. There's, I think in Yakima County there's close to 60 paramedics, and Yakima County is a huge county, so there's quite a bit of training that goes along with it. Thank you.
Expert witness is usually, it could be district court, probably superior court. Obviously my training and my experience and my being able to tell you, yeah, these injuries are there, what kind of injuries they are. I can tell you what caused those injuries because of my vast training and my schooling in accident reconstruction. If you want to talk about a motor vehicle collision, a head strike on a windshield, leg blows on top of the car, how fast was the car going, how to do this. To be able to do that, you have to have the training and experience and know the injuries. Again, in ballistics, gunshot wounds, is this a contact wound? Is this an entrance wound? Is this an exit wound? Again, my study from the medical legal aspect of it and the wounds, and I'm able to testify to that because of my experience. I've been involved in, I don't know, probably 700-800 autopsies dealing with a lot of this stuff. And we examine and photograph and document all these injuries. And my experience is there. That's my career. I've been doing it all my life. That's what I do. That's why I'm able to qualify as an expert witness in Superior Court. Thank you.
What experience do you have with operating a budget? Mr. Hawkins, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, obviously, I've been coroner for 9 years, and I've run the budget for 9 years. And it's like add, it's a small budget. Yakima County, obviously, is a very large county, but we have a very small tax base. And there's a lot of people competing for every dollar that budget from every entity in the county. So we have to, not only we start with our budget, obviously as we go along, we have to make adjustments. We have to understand if we spend this dollar for this, it's not gonna be there later for that. And one of the problems that we have as a coroner is our autopsy costs. That's probably our biggest cost, and we never really know for sure how many autopsies we're gonna do in a year. I've done up to 100 autopsies, and I've done as low as 60. So, I mean, that is really a tough toss. It's a tough guess, because as you go along, you make 3 months, 6 months, okay, I've done this many, then you can kind of tell, okay, I'm gonna need this much money at the end. So do I buy this cot, or do I buy this extra stuff we need for the morgue? Probably not, unless you know how much money you're gonna have at the end. And it is a juggle. We run into a problem this year with toxicology results. It went from 4 to 6 weeks to 5 months. The state lab takes 5 months to get me back my tox. And in 80% of the cases, I can't tell you what the cause of death is, or I can tell you, but I can't write it down and confirm it without those tox results. So we're waiting 5 months? Nah. So we have been able to go out and get a company that has bid us a cut rate so we can do our tox. And now I can get tox back 2 to 3 weeks, which is essential. But I've got to adjust that budget because we're paying for those. Those aren't free like they come from the state. So I've had 9 years experience running the county budget for the coroner's office, in meetings and adjusting our budget. It's a tough job, but I have 90 years experience to do it, and I can do it. Thank you.
So as a field operations supervisor, we're very budget oriented. We are a private, Yakima has private ambulances, and so they make money by transporting people. There's like a certain amount payment gets paid back, because not everyone pays exactly what they're billed. And so that limits the working budget. So we're constantly weighing our call volume versus how many paramedics or how many crews we have on the street, and that's done on a daily basis. We are responsible for maintenance of the ambulances. We're responsible for the stocking of the ambulances, and we're talking, if anyone buys anything that has medical on it knows it costs a little bit of money. So we're very diligent on finding the most what'll work at the lowest cost. So and I have 11 years experience doing that. I've been commended and complimented on my decisions I have made, the decision processes I have made throughout the years with that. I guess the biggest hit for us is always going to be the wages, and that's probably with any private industry. So we're constantly, you got to pay people to stay there, but you also, you have to work and live within your means. And I feel that we do that very well. We've been in the Valley since 1961, not as always as American Medical Response, but it started out as Medic 1 and then moved on to American Medical Response. So, yeah, we've been here for a while, and it's because we've operated and maintained a budget, and so I feel I'm very experienced with the budget. I feel like I make very good decisions when it comes down to the bottom line. Thank you.
How does your party affiliation impact the job of sheriff or coroner? And why, I know a lot of people feel, why is this even a partisan office? What does that have to do with it? So, yeah, how does party affiliation impact the job of CC?
So, I agree. I believe this should be a nonpartisan position. You're helping people depend on you, and it crosses all party lines. So, so they ask us, who do you prefer? I prefer the Republican Party, only because it goes more in line with my conservative values. I was raised in a very conservative home, raised by Christian parents. I myself am a Christian, and so that follows more of those values. My decision to be a paramedic, I don't ask them what their party status is. I don't ask them, who they vote for, who they wouldn't vote for. That's not my concern. My concern is what is the issue at the time, and what do I need to do? As a coroner, you need to be a liaison for that family and the deceased. You also need to be an advocate for the deceased. It's to me, I think it's very unfair to even ask a person to provide their political affiliation in a position like this. You're making decisions that will help everybody involved, or that affects everybody involved, and it has no political status as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, Jim's exactly right. We don't, as a coroner, I go on a call, it never crosses my mind whether this person is an independent, a Republican, or a Democrat. My personal bringing up in my conservative is why I've gone with the Republican Party. It really has nothing to do with the job or the coroner's office. Obviously, the whole thing with the sheriff and the coroner come from England back in the 1800s, and the sheriff Nottingham, he pretty much ruled the land as to who investigated what, or he did all the investigation, decided everything. Well, they needed a third party to do something independent there, and that's where the coroner came in. He was charged with the independent investigation of the death, and there was no party affiliation. Also, they were tax collectors back then, and he needed to get everybody's death investigated so they could collect the taxes. Well, we don't do that anymore, and it is a nonpartisan idea when you're working in the office or you're going to the scene and stuff. It's just like Jim said, it's a personal thing with me and the party, more in line with my conservative values and being a Christian and whatnot. Okay, thank you.
Do you speak Spanish? Have you made any effort to do so, or what are your thoughts about working in a community that has a lot of Spanish-speaking residents?
Okay. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I picked it up on the street when I was with the sheriff's department and the police department. I have interpreters that are within a minute from my office. A gal used to work for me who was a Spanish interpreter, and I take it very seriously when we get a call from somebody and they don't speak English, that I'm able to get somebody there for them so that we can communicate. And if we're on the scene, we find somebody there that can help communicate with them. It's because they need to know, what's going on, and it's same as anybody else. It could be Greek. It doesn't make any difference what it is. We need to be able to let them know what's going on. Sometimes we have to find people in the community to help with that. We have chaplains that are available for that, and I have different people I can call to come in, and I have to communicate to them what we see has transpired, what's going to happen, and if they have any questions, and to please contact us or to be able to communicate with us then exactly what we're going to do and what they need to do. Like I say, it doesn't matter whether it's Spanish or English for that matter. We have to be able to communicate, and I have people that I can call immediately to come and help do that for me. Thank you.
So the language barrier is common throughout me, probably with all public servants. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I mean, if you're telling me you're having chest pain, and I could probably figure that out. But in the field, we have people we can call who can translate for us. We have some people we work with also are bilingual, can speak. And I currently am trying to learn Spanish, although I have a lot more respect for people that speak Spanish and are trying to learn English, because it is very, very difficult, at least for me. So, but yes, there are avenues that you can call somebody that can translate. Have lots of times I'll have police officers who are bilingual will translate, or it seems like lots of people are willing to help, and we have a lot of great people in the valley that will definitely step up and translate as well.
What will your relationship be with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement? Good question. So let's start over on this side.
Well, my relationship with the coroner will be the same as always been. You know, we don't immigration. It doesn't matter to us whether the person is legal or not legal. It just doesn't matter. We never ask that question, even when we're at the scene or we're with a family member, and they have absolutely no worries about having to face that when it comes to the coroner. We have no reason to know that. If law enforcement needs to know that. My only thing would be, you know, if we have a drug problem or something, I will make sure that the immigration officers are aware of it, especially if you're dealing with, you know, with a meth lab, or you're dealing with fentanyl, which is highly toxic. They need to know that. Other than that, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to say, oh, this person's legal or this. I wouldn't know. I have no idea. I wouldn't ask them, and it really is a no-brainer for the coroner. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I can't see an issue that you would deal with ICE, except for maybe for law enforcement, like there was an exposure or something along those lines. As a coroner, you're treat everybody the same. Everyone's, you know, it's totally even across the board. Thank you.
The current Yakima County Sheriff has invested in a relationship with the Yakima Nation. Are you going to nurture and continue this relationship?
Many times I've had the opportunity and privilege to go out to the Yakima Nation and treat many people out there, and it's been a privilege and an honor to do that. I know that the whole issue with the relationship, I hope that relationship grows and becomes even stronger than it is now, and so I think that will benefit everybody involved. Thank you.
Retrocession, I can speak long and hard on this. I deal with the Yakima Native. I worked with most of those people down there when I was with the Sheriff's Department. Chief Jimmy Shites and I are very close. I work with him, I work with his detectives, I work with the council. I was told at one point when retrocession took this full-blown thing that you get to a scene of an accident or a crime scene and it's native against native and it's on the tribe, just leave. I said, what? You just leave. Go and just leave the body there. Yeah, tell them to take care of it themselves. That ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry. I'm the coroner of Yakima County, and I will take care of everybody in Yakima County. As far as whether they pay taxes or not, that ain't my problem. That's your problem. I will take care of these people, and I reiterated that information to Jimmy Shites, who's the chief of the Yakima Nation, and their council, that I would not leave them in a lurch. I've talked with the FBI. Of course, the big thing is money. Who's paying for this? If need be, we can bill the FBI for an autopsy if we have to. But I have probably the closest working relationship with an entity in law enforcement with the Yakima Nation as I do with the Yakima Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. I've studied their culture. I've worked with the officers down there. I've sit down and talked to them about their cultures. What is it that the families want? Believe me, when you go down there and you get there, they don't always want the coroner there because obviously their custom is you got 3 days. You got to be in the longhouse, be taken care of, and start their journey in 3 days. You cannot interrupt that, and you don't take anything off that body. Well, if we got a homicide, we got a problem. But I'm able to work with the officers and explain to the family what I need to do to be able to build a case for the prosecutor and take it to court so that we can convict the person that done this. And by taking the time to explain that to them, and they know me now and stuff, we work very well together. So I have extensive training, and yes, we will continue that with the Yakima Nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure we could continue for a lot longer. This has been very insightful and fascinating for me, and I hope everyone else too. So, give you a couple minutes for a closing statement, and then you're welcome to stay and chat with folks for a little while if you like. Thank you all so much for your time tonight. Thank you everyone for coming and listening.
So first of all, I'd like to say I love this valley. I love the people in this valley. The opportunity to interact with many, many people over the years. And unfortunately, sometimes it's not in such a great circumstance. But I know I've been on scenes where the outcome is not what I put together on the scene with my experience and knowledge and everything that I was there. Oftentimes, we are at the patient side before law enforcement is. And I'm not saying that the investigation was done wrong on any end. I just think that we're missing an element at the investigation site, and that it was an element of a medical background, experience, and knowledge with scene management, and being at the scene at the time. I feel that this valley has been very generous to most people, to everyone I've come across. Have been just wonderful. So my name is Jim Curtis. I'm running for Yakima County Coroner, and I appreciate your vote and support. Thank you.
First of all, thank you all for sitting through all this and letting us have a chance to tell you what our message is and what we're running on and why we think we're the best candidate, whether it's for sheriff or coroner. Obviously, I'm for coroner. Most people don't know what a coroner does or what, they don't want to know. Nobody wants to know until it's time, okay? Well, the coroner is the chief death investigator in the county. The coroner, we talked about the sheriff. If the sheriff had to go, there's an RCW that says the coroner may be charged with running the sheriff's department. And if that and it has happened in the past. Leonard Birkenbein had to step in and run the sheriff's office. So you better have somebody in the coroner's position as law enforcement. It's been that way, it should be that way, because he may have to step up and actually run the sheriff's department. God help us. But anyway, my experience and training is vast. When a death affects you or your family, you deserve the best independent investigation that you can possibly get. And I'll give you that. I have the experience, the training now to go out and do that. That's what I do. That's been my career for the last 35 years. And that's what I will do. And with the full knowledge of the importance of my position as the final voice for your lost loved one, I will give you that voice. I will tell you what happened, and I will explain it to you compassionately, but with all the facts. Again, my name is Jack Hawkins. I am the Yakima County Coroner, and I am running for re-election. Thank you very much for your time this evening.